Top HFY stories. Wait, you didn't know? Asterisk asterisk. It was a slow day at the Galactic Archives. A labyrinth of knowledge carved into the crystalline cliffs of Zarnis 4. Scholars from across the cosmos drifted through its halls, searching for forgotten histories and ancient wisdom. Zelenar, a Dinati historian with 6 delicate arms, was organizing a symposium on the cultural myths of pre-Federation species. It was then that a human, young, scruffy, and carrying a dented data pad, wandered in. "Can I help you?" Zelenar asked, her voice like chimes in the wind. "Yeah, I'm looking for the HFY section," the human replied, scratching his head. "HFY?" Zelenar repeated, puzzled. "Humanity. Yeah," he clarified. "You know, stories where humans save the day, outsmart the aliens, or, like, punch a god in the face." Zelenar's translucent eyelids blinked in unison. "Is this fiction?" The human grinned. "Not exactly. It's more like accounts of humans being awesome." "You mean you didn't know about it?" Intrigued, Zelenar gestured for him to sit. "Tell me more." For the next hour, the human regaled her with tales. There was the one about the stranded human who taught a primitive alien tribe agriculture, lifting their civilization in a single generation. Then there was the diplomat who diffused a galactic war by introducing the concept of pizza, a universal crowd-pleaser. And, of course, the infamous story of Captain Ramirez, who won a high-stakes chess match against an AI warlord that calculated probabilities faster than light. "Remarkable," Zelenar said, tapping her notes into her holographic tablet. "But are these stories credible?" The human shrugged. "Depends. Some are embellished, sure, but a lot of it, true as the stars. There's a reason humans are called the chaos catalysts in half the galaxy." Zelenar's mind buzzed. These weren't just stories, they were testaments to a species that thrived on adversity, laughed in the face of the impossible, and turned every challenge into an opportunity. She suddenly felt a pang of guilt. For centuries, the Dinati had dismissed humans as primitive newcomers, barely worth study. "Do you have more?" she asked, leaning forward. The human's grin widened. "Oh, I've got a whole archive back on my ship." And so, a new chapter in the Galactic Archives began, a section devoted entirely to HFY. Over time, it became one of the most visited wings, inspiring generations of scholars, warriors, and dreamers. As Zelenar herself often said, "You never truly understand the galaxy until you've heard how humans conquered it, not with ships, but with stories." Top HFY stories, the Galactic Symposium. Word of the new HFY section at the Galactic Archives spread faster than a Zoran warp flare. Scholars, adventurers, and curiosity seekers from every corner of the cosmos made pilgrimages to read these tales of human audacity, ingenuity, and sheer stubbornness. Within months, the collection had grown from a modest shelf to an entire wing, with stories submitted by aliens who had encountered humans firsthand. Zelenar became a de facto curator, her passion for the subject rivaling that of any human enthusiast. Yet she soon realized that reading stories wasn't enough, these accounts deserved to be shared with the galaxy in a grander way. And so, she organized the first-ever Galactic Symposium on humanity's exceptional feats. The symposium was held in the Great Hall of Lumina Prime, a neutral planet known for its shimmering auroras and crystal-clear skies. Delegates from thousands of species arrived, each eager to share their tales or hear new ones. The opening speech was delivered by Zelenar herself. She stood on the dais, her 6 arms gesturing elegantly as her voice echoed through the hall. "Friends and scholars, today we celebrate not just the humans' achievements but the lessons they teach us about resilience, creativity, and courage. Their tales remind us that no matter how vast the stars, the smallest spark of determination can light the way forward. Let us begin." The first presenter was a towering reptilian Theric named Gruktal, a retired mercenary. His gravelly voice rumbled through the hall as he recounted the story of a human engineer named Lydia Vargas, who had been captured during a Theric raid. "She was frail, unarmed, and surrounded," Gruktal said, his yellow eyes narrowing. "But this human didn't cower. She dismantled our security systems using a spoon and 2 wires from her uniform. She escaped, sabotaged our ship, and left us stranded in the Zarek Nebula. We barely survived, and yet, I respect her. She didn't just defeat us, she proved the strength of her kind spirit." The audience erupted in applause. Next came Yulith, a luminescent being from the Ethereal Collective. She floated to the stage, her light pulsing rhythmically as she spoke. "I bring a story of compassion," Yulith said, her voice like a melody. "A human medic named Dr. Imran saved my people during a plague. He worked tirelessly, risking his own life to find a cure. When I asked why he cared for strangers, he replied, Because someone has to. Humanity's strength is not just in their will to survive but in their capacity to uplift others. The day was filled with such stories, humans outwitting pirate lords, forging alliances where none seemed possible, and even introducing a species to music, sparking a cultural renaissance. The symposium ended with a surprise presentation from the human ambassador, a spry old man named Jacob Callahan. He stepped onto the stage with a smile and said, "I think we've heard enough about how amazing humans are, but let me tell you this, none of these stories would exist without you. It's the connections we've made, the way we've learned from you, that makes us who we are. Humanity thrives because we're never alone. Thank you for being part of our story." The symposium became an annual event, each year adding new tales to the growing collection of HFY stories. And as the galaxy marveled at the humans' extraordinary feats, the humans, in turn, marveled at the vast and wondrous galaxy they were now part of, a universe where every species had its own stories to tell. After all, as ZLNAR often reminded visitors, the greatest HFY stories are those we've yet to write together. Top HFY Stories, Humanity's Finest Hour. The second annual Galactic Symposium on Humanity's Exceptional Feats was met with even greater anticipation than the first. This time, the focus shifted to a theme proposed by none other than ZLNAR herself, Humanity's Finest Hour. Delegates were asked to bring stories that embodied moments of unparalleled heroism, ingenuity, or sacrifice. The symposium hall on Lumina Prime was larger this year, glowing with intricate holodisplays of human achievements. Before the event began, the buzz of excited conversation filled the air. Attendees speculated on what tales would emerge this time. The first speaker was Admiral Vyxlar of the Archith Dominion, a stoic avian with shimmering emerald feathers. Vyxlar's voice was sharp and commanding as he recounted the tale of the siege of Ithis Station. "I was there," Vyxlar began, his talons clicking against the podium. "Our fleet was overwhelmed. The enemy, an unrelenting swarm of Neuralink drones, had cut off our escape. Surrender seemed inevitable. Then, a human captain named Eleanor Grant took command of a derelict cargo freighter. The audience leaned in. She rigged the freighter with explosive charges, piloted it directly into the swarm, and detonated it from within. The explosion destroyed the enemy's central control hub, scattering their forces. Her sacrifice saved thousands. When asked why she volunteered, her only response was, "Because someone had to." The hall was silent for a moment before breaking into thunderous applause. Next, a small, aquatic being named Lilix took the stage, its gelatinous form shimmering under the lights. It spoke of the Gliese Starquake disaster, an event that had nearly torn apart its homeworld. "Our oceans boiled, our skies burned," Lilix said, its voice trembling. "The Federation deemed our world a lost cause, but the humans, they came anyway. Teams of engineers and scientists risked their lives to stabilize our planet's tectonic core." Lilix paused, its glowing eyes dimming. One human, Dr. Alina Reed, stayed behind when the final evacuation ships departed. She worked tirelessly to complete the stabilization array, knowing she wouldn't survive. "Because of her, my people live. We sing her name in our songs now. She is eternal." As the symposium continued, more stories unfolded, each one showcasing humanity's ability to rise above fear, defy impossible odds, and make sacrifices others wouldn't dream of. There was the tale of a human diplomat who walked unarmed into the heart of a warlord's fortress to broker peace. Another told of an artist who inspired a dying world by creating murals that spanned entire continents, reminding its people of beauty and hope. The final speaker was a surprise, a young human named Meera Patel. She had no official title, no credentials, but when she stepped onto the stage, her presence commanded the room. "My story isn't about a war or a disaster," she began. "It's about an ordinary day on an ordinary planet. My colony was struggling, barely scraping by. Food was scarce, morale was worse. One night, our generator failed, no power meant no heat, and a deadly cold snap was coming." Meera took a deep breath. "Our neighbor, an elderly man named Mr. Cho, had a backup generator. He could have kept it for himself, but instead, he set it up in the town square and powered a makeshift shelter. He gave us a place to survive the night." Her voice softened. "He didn't make it. He gave up his warmth for us, for me. I'm here because of him." The hall was silent, save for the quiet hum of hollow recorders capturing her every word. "That's what makes us human," Meera said, her voice steady. "Not the big moments, but the little ones, the quiet sacrifices, the choices no one sees. That's humanity's finest hour, every time." As the symposium concluded, ZLNAR stood before the crowd. Her voice, filled with emotion, resonated through the hall. "Today, we've heard stories of courage, sacrifice, and hope. But more than that, we've seen the heart of humanity, the light they bring to the darkest corners of the galaxy. Let us carry that light forward, together. The audience rose in a standing ovation, their applause echoing across the cosmos. And so, the legacy of HFY continued, not just as tales of human greatness, but as a beacon of inspiration for the galaxy, a reminder that the finest stories are the ones that unite us all. Stories, Beyond the Stars. By the time the Third Galactic Symposium on Humanity's Exceptional Feats was announced, it had become the most prestigious and eagerly anticipated event in the galaxy. This year's theme was both ambitious and poetic, Beyond the Stars. It challenged participants to bring stories of humanity not just surviving, but thriving and transcending expectations in ways that inspired the galaxy to dream bigger. The venue was an orbital station above the glittering gas giant Giovanna 6, a breathtaking location chosen to symbolize humanity's desire to reach for the heavens. The station's grand auditorium, with its panoramic view of the swirling clouds below, created the perfect atmosphere for the extraordinary tales to come. The first speaker was Ciala Vor, a crystalline entity from the Kerith cluster, whose species communicated through resonant harmonics. Her words shimmered in the minds of the audience like music. I bring you the story of humanity's first contact with my kind, Ciala began. We were invisible to their sensors. Existing in a higher dimensional state, they should not have noticed us, yet they did, because they listened. Their scientists picked up faint echoes of our existence and sent us signals, not of conquest or demand, but of curiosity and friendship. She paused, her form pulsing with emotion. It was a human mathematician, Professor Elena Park, who cracked the code of our resonance. She spent decades crafting a language we could share, refusing to give up despite her peers' skepticism. Because of her, we now stand here together, sharing stories. Humanity reached beyond their dimension to find us, not as conquerors, but as kin. The next presenter was Tkaz, a mechanical lifeform from the Quran technocracy. His metallic voice carried a surprising warmth as he spoke of the Starlight Initiative, a human-led project to restore dying stars. When humanity joined the Federation, many viewed them as short-sighted and impulsive. Tkaz began. Yet, it was their boldness that led to the creation of Starlight Seeding, injecting dying stars with engineered plasma to reignite them. They turned abandoned star systems into beacons of life once more. He projected a hologram of a rekindled star, its golden light bathing the planets orbiting it. They did not do this for profit or glory, but because, in their words, a dead star is a tragedy. They reminded us that every corner of the universe deserves a second chance. As the symposium continued, the stories grew more incredible. A Kithran philosopher spoke of how humans had inspired her people to embrace the chaos of the unknown. A trader from the Valerie nomad fleet recounted how a human captain once navigated a deadly hyperstorm to deliver life-saving supplies to an isolated colony. But the story that left the room in awed silence came from a Siltari elder named Velix. She spoke of the Ark of Sol, a generation ship sent from Earth centuries before humanity joined the galactic community. The Ark's crew set out on a one-way journey, knowing they would never see their home again. They faced isolation, resource scarcity, and the psychological toll of the void. Yet, they thrived. When they finally reached the edge of the galaxy, they sent back a single message: "We are ready to meet you." Velix smiled, her luminescent eyes glimmering. They did not just survive, they transcended. They proved that no matter the distance, no matter the hardship, humanity will always find a way to move forward. The final moment of the symposium came when Zelenar took the stage once more. She had become something of a legend herself, dedicating her life to cataloging the tales of humanity and sharing them with the galaxy. This year, we have heard stories of humans reaching beyond their limits, beyond the stars, she said. But these stories are not just about humanity, they are about us all. Humanity's audacity, their refusal to yield, their endless curiosity. These are not traits confined to one species, they are sparks we all carry within us. She gestured to the breathtaking view of Giovanna 6 behind her. Their stories remind us that the universe is vast, but it is not beyond our reach. Together, we can go farther than any of us ever imagined. The applause that followed was unlike any before it. It was not just for the humans or their stories, but for the shared future they symbolized, a future where every species could reach beyond the stars. The HFY symposium became more than a celebration of humanity. It became a call to action, inspiring every being in the galaxy to dream, to strive, and to write their own extraordinary stories.